no people who live in this area besides him. Abel then asks Ryou if he hunts for food, and he affirms. Next, he asks if he uses the knife for that, but Ryou shows off his water magic, saying that he does most of his hunting using magic. Abel is impressed because only half the people in the world can use magic, and he is among the other half that can't. That is surprising news to Ryou because the angel told him that only 20% of people can use magic. Anyway, Abel asks him to take him to the shore because he needs to confirm something. On the way, he tells Ryou to let him take the front lines if they run into any sort of danger. Ryou replies that it is not necessary, but Abel insists because he doesn't want to be the one being saved all the time. Ryou lets him do as he pleases, and they soon reach the broken ship where all the bodies have vanished. Abel thinks that either the monsters or the sea took them, and he thanks Ryou for rescuing him because otherwise he would have faced the same situation. Abel then says that he couldn't find what he was looking for, and for now, he wants to meet up with his friends. But the storm sent the ship far south, and he has no idea which direction should he follow now. He suddenly gets an idea and asks Ryou if he would like to come with him. Ryou is shocked to hear this, and Abel says that he could use his help to find his way back, and then he could find him a job that will allow him to live in better conditions. Ryou thinks about his offer for a while, and in the end, he decides to become Abel's guide back to the city. That evening, he looks at his garden that he has cultivated with a lot of effort, and he gets a bit sad thinking about leaving it all behind. At night, he tells Abel that he is going out to say goodbye to someone, and even though the knight is curious about the person, he decides not to pry into the matter. Meanwhile, Ryou heads to the lake to see the headless knight, and inform him that he will be leaving the forest for a long time. He thanks the knight for teaching him how to fight and then takes out his knife, saying that he will fight extra hard tonight. The headless knight also draws his sword, and then Ryou charges towards him, pushing him back with his relentless strikes. After a long and hard fight, Ryou gets exhausted and the knight returns to the lake. Ryou thanks him one more time, and the knight remains silent. However, as soon as he reaches his position, he turns around and summons a magic suit from inside the water as a farewell gift. Ryou gets sentimental on receiving the suit, and he once again thanks the headless knight before returning home. The next morning, Ryou and Abel get ready to depart on their journey, and Ryou starts feeling nostalgic about leaving the place he has spent so much time in. Soon, they run into a wild boar in the forest, and Abel asks him to let him handle it. He dashes towards the boar with his sword drawn, and then uses a combat skill to turn the poor animal into a donut. Ryou is amazed and asks what are combat skills, and Abel explains that people who fight with weapons use combat skills. They camp in a hollow tree at night, and the next day, they resume their journey through the forest. They come across some lizardmen in a swamp, and Abel decides to change the route instead of crossing paths with them because they are quite strong. However, Ryou can sense that the lizardmen are following them even after they change their path, and Abel gets ready to fight them. Ryou tells him that there are too many of them, and he will use his magic to fight too. Abel thinks that Ryou won't be able to fight without his staff, but he is shocked when Ryou blitzes 4 lizardmen with his icicle lances. After the fight ends, Abel asks Ryou about the spell he just used. He replies that it is just the regular icicle lance, but Abel tells him that his wind mage friends can only cast 1 attack at a time when they use magic, but he summoned 4 icicle lances at once. Ryou tells him that it must be a problem of the wind magic because this is pretty normal for water magic. Abel decides not to think about it that much and says they should continue their journey, but before that Ryou creates 2 glasses using ice and summons water in them. Abel notices that he used a different incantation this time, and Ryou covers it up by saying that he must have heard it wrong the last time. After that, Abel gives Ryou a coin, and he excitedly says that this is the first time he is seeing money. Abel is dumbfounded because he always thought that Ryou was poor, but he never imagined him to be this poor. He then starts telling Ryou that there are 3 major countries in the Central Plains that include the Kingdom of Nightly, the Debuhi Empire, and the Handelu Federation. Ryou starts throwing shade on the Debuhi Empire because he doesn't like the name, and while he keeps talking shit about the stupid name, they reach a vast clearing. Suddenly, they notice a rock near them move on its own, and Abel quickly slashes it in half. Ryou also puts up a water shield to block the stones speeding towards them, and Abel realizes that they just walked into a nest of rock golems. Ryou asks if golems are not more humanoid in shape, but Abel decides to deal with them before answering the question. He dashes towards the nearest golem and blows a hole through it, but the golem quickly patches the wound and starts attacking him. Abel retreats, saying that their attacks won't be effective on the golems, but then Ryou gets an idea. He creates a huge ice cube in the air and drops it on top of the golems, squishing them. Abel is aghast because he has never seen a spell like that before, but Ryou uses it a few more times to defeat the rest of the golems. After that, they find a special rock golem with a big magic stone, and Abel says that it will sell for a lot. Ryou says that he would like to get the magic stone out of other golems as well, but they are buried under ice, and he is either too lazy or too dumb to just melt all of it. They continue their journey with that and soon come across a gigantic croc-hippo hybrid. Abel says that it is a behemoth, which is a very rare and powerful monster he has never seen before. Ryou asks if they should hunt it, but Abel tells him that it is not even possible. Just then, some wyverns also come there and Ryou gets excited because now they will see a battle between monsters. Soon, the wyverns begin shooting rocks at the behemoth with magic, but it just roars, cancelling out their magic and causing them to fall to the ground. Ryou tells Abel that the giant monster probably used magic cancellation skill. Later, as they are having dinner, Abel asks Ryou more about the magic cancellation skill because he has only heard about certain traps in dungeons that can do that. Ryou gets excited on hearing about dungeons, and Abel tells him that there is a dungeon in the city of Loon where they are headed. Ryou gets mad that he didn't tell him about this important thing earlier, and asks him if he is hiding something else too. Abel asks him if he at least knows about dwarves and elves, but Ryou asks him to give him the details. A few days later, they reach a mountain range and Ryou says that they will find some human settlement after crossing the mountains. Abel asks him how can he be so sure, and Ryou wonders if he should tell him that he met a dragon who told him a lot about this world. He decides to keep it a secret in the end, saying that it is knowledge beyond human comprehension. Soon after that, they hear a strange sound and both of them get ready to fight. However, when a powerful monster called Griffin approaches them from the sky, both Ryou and Abel freak out. Abel starts having a panic attack, but Ryou quickly solves the situation by throwing a chunk of meat up in the air. Abel apes his act, and the griffin collects both pieces in its mouth before flying away. The boys heave a sigh of relief after it is gone, and they agree that they wouldn't have lasted long if they picked a fight with something so strong. As they continue their journey, Abel says that no human has encountered behemoths or griffins in the past 100 years, and the tall mountains must be stopping them from reaching human settlements. That reminds Ryou that the wyverns who fought the behemoth came from the north, which means their nest is nearby. He turns out to be right as they soon find some wyverns feeding on a monster. Ryou wants to fight, but Abel says it takes at least 20 experienced adventurers to face off against monsters as strong as wyverns. Ryou tells him that they won't be able to avoid fighting in the future, and asks if it will be better if the wyverns are pinned to the ground. Abel affirms, saying that he can beat one in close combat, and Ryou immediately steps out, chanting a long fake spell just to summon 4 icicles to stab the wings of the wyverns. Abel uses this chance to blow their brains out, but then 2 more wyverns arrive there. Ryou pins them down using icicles, but without chanting a spell this time, and Abel gets suspicious. Anyway, they defeat the wyverns and collect their magic stones, and then continue their journey to the north. Soon, they cross the mountain range and arrive at the Green Hills. Abel is surprised that they not only fought wyverns, but managed to get a lot of magic stones that will fetch a lot of money once they reach the Empire. Ryou suddenly gets curious about which country they are heading to, because he is fine with anyone except the Debuhi Empire. Abel tells him that the Debuhi Empire is a bit farther to the north, and Ryou appears relieved on hearing that. This confuses Abel, and he asks Ryou if he has got any issue with the Empire. He replies that he has no issue with the Empire or its people, but the name is so cringe that he doesn't want to associate with it, and Abel finds that quite odd. Suddenly, Ryou spots a road in the distance, and on seeing that it runs from east to west, Abel realizes that the mountain range they just crossed was not ordinary. However, when Ryou asks him what he is thinking about, he replies that it is nothing and says that the road will lead them to a town. Ryou gets excited at the thought of sleeping in a bed, and Abel recommends him to try out the food in the town. They reach the town by night, and as they are eating dinner in an inn, Abel suggests Ryou to get himself registered with the Adventurers Guild, because a guild license will work as his identity card. Also, if he has a guild license, he won't have to pay any tax when entering a new city. He reminds Ryou that he just paid a silver coin to cover for him when they entered the town, and Ryou begins taunting him, asking if he is going to keep the record of every penny he spends for a friend's sake. Abel is low-key cringed out at this behavior, but he continues his lecture and tells Ryou that if he becomes a member of the Adventurer Guild, the guild will buy magic stones and monster material from him at a good price. He explains that only alchemists can use those materials properly, and Ryou gets curious to learn more about them. However, he doesn't get the chance to ask any questions as the waitress brings his food, and he can't believe his eyes when he sees a plate of curry rice. Ryou tries to process how curry rice can exist in this world because even in the Isekai anime, the protagonist has to work hard and travel all over the world to create the perfect curry, and he was kind of looking forward to that. The taste of the curry is also as delicious and nostalgic as the one he used to eat in Japan, and Ryou quickly finishes the plate before ordering more. The next day, Ryou keeps rambling about how good the curry was, and says that it turned out to be another interesting thing that Abel kept hidden from him. He playfully tells him to reveal all the secrets he is hiding, and Abel is taken aback by that, but Ryou just wanted him to tell him about the dessert shops in the town. Abel nervously walks away, saying that he doesn't like sweets, and Ryou is confused because of his sus behavior. Anyway, they resume their journey, and soon, they reach the town of Loon that is surrounded by vast wheat fields. As they reach the town gate, the guard Nimmer identifies Abel, and he is shocked to see him because he was reported missing a few months earlier. Abel tells him that a lot of things happened, and he managed to make it back home thanks to Ryou. Nimmer thanks Ryou for saving his friend and then eagerly shakes his hands, after which he starts catching up with Abel. Once they are inside the town, Abel tells Ryou that they should head straight to the guild, because with him there, Ryou can rank up immediately at the time of registration. He explains that usually, newbie adventurers are assigned F rank when they register, but if an adventurer ranked B or above can put a good word for them, they can rise up to D rank immediately. They soon reach the guild, and everyone there is pleasantly surprised to see Abel again. They surround him like he is some kind of celebrity, and Ryou is happy that Abel has so many people who care about him. He decides to let him enjoy this reunion for a bit more and steps outside to get some fresh air. He starts taking a walk when suddenly, he runs into an elf. While Ryou is captivated by her pointy ears and pretty face, the elf girl can't take her eyes